This is BBC News. I'm Regid Ahmed. The headlines. Spain's Prime Minister holds an emergency cabinet meeting. It's expected the Madrid government is preparing to impose direct control over Catalonia.
I'm Tim Wilcox, live in Barcelona, where in the next few hours hundreds of thousands of protesters are expected to take to the streets, demonstrating against direct rule from Madrid.
Zimbabwe's President Mugabe is made a goodwill ambassador by the World Health Organization. The country's opposition says it's laughable. Hello and welcome to BBC World News. The Spanish government has been holding a special cabinet meeting as it prepares to impose direct rule over Catalonia. Let's go straight to Barcelona with Tim Wilcox.
Hello, welcome to us.
Thank you very much, Tim Wilcox in Barcelona. Well, moving on, police in Germany say an attacker with a knife has injured at least 4 people in the southern city of Munich. They say the attack took place in the central Rosenheimer Platz. Police describe the attacker as a man in his 40s who fled the scene on a bicycle. A man has now been arrested, but police have not confirmed he's the knifeman. No motive has been established and none of the injuries are life-threatening. The decision by the World Health Organization to appoint Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe as a goodwill ambassador has been met with widespread condemnation. The role is symbolic, but Mr Mugabe will be expected to tackle non-communicable diseases like cancer and heart disease. Zimbabwe's opposition, Movement for Democratic Change, say the decision is laughable and that under his 37-year rule, the health system has all but collapsed. The UK government has also voiced their concerns, saying the appointment risked overshadowing the work undertaken globally on non-communicable diseases. Well, Kenneth Roth is the Executive Director of Human Rights Watch. He described the decision as absurd. Let's take a look at some other stories now. At least 53 members of the Egyptian security forces are reported to have been killed in a clash with Islamist militants in the Western Desert. The Interior Ministry said the rebels had fired on the troops as they raided their hideout in the Bahariya oasis. A number of suspected militants were also killed. The Somali government says the number of dead from last Saturday's huge truck bombing in the capital Mogadishu has risen to 358. More than 50 people are still missing. The truck exploded at a busy intersection, destroying hotels, government offices and restaurants. Officials blamed al-Shabaab militants for the attack, but so far no one has claimed responsibility. And the US has called on the Iraqi government to limit the deployment of troops in the north of the country to prevent unnecessary clashes with Kurdish forces. On Friday, Iraqi troops engaged in a 3-hour battle with Kurdish Peshmerga fighters, giving the Iraqis control of the last remaining district of Kirkuk province. That's an area rich in oil. Now, the US and South Korea are conducting joint military exercises off the Korean peninsula amid heightened tensions with North Korea. The US says the drills are designed to be a show of sea and air power to deter North Korea from any military action. Pyongyang has described the exercises as a rehearsal for war. Among the ships taking part is the USS Ronald Reagan, the biggest of the US Navy's fleet in the Asia region. Our correspondent Mark Lowen has been on board. Now, opinion polls in Australia suggest the country is leaning towards a yes vote on introducing same-sex marriage. Rallies are being held across the country in the last push to urge people to post their yes votes. The postal survey is voluntary and non-binding, but Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has promised that if a majority of Australians support gay marriage, Parliament will debate it. Voting for Australians living overseas is now closed, while those at home have until November the 7th. Much more coming up on BBC World News. That's it for now.
That's all for now. Back to you in the news studio with Regit.
Well, thank you very much. Let's go straight to Madrid, where the Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy is about to speak. Let's listen in.
I will talk about dialogue. I will talk about Article 155, about the objectives, aims of the government, putting into operation Article 1, which have made us great. That is what they were supporting. Thank you very much.
We've been listening to the Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy giving a news conference there, a very crucial news conference, essentially setting out how the declaration of Article 155 is going to go ahead, and that is going to allow the Spanish government to take on direct rule of Catalonia. Now, the Prime Minister did say that he's going to put forward his details to the Senate next week, so this is certainly by no means something that's going to happen instantly. It is going to continue into next week. But let's go to Guy Hedgecoe, who's in Madrid, and get some details from him. Guy, what did you make of that press conference?
Well, those are some quite strident measures that Mr. Rajoy has laid out. He hasn't given us a great deal of detail, but he's laid out the sort of general lines of what he intends to do when he takes these measures to the Senate in the coming days. He said he intends to remove Catalan President Carles Puigdemont from office and Carles Puigdemont's vice president and all his cabinet, and essentially replace them with direct rule using ministers in Madrid. So that's really quite a strident measure. And then the other big sort of headline there was his intention to trigger elections in Catalonia, regional elections. Now, we had kind of been expecting that. He said these have to take place within 6 months. But he said at the same time, he hoped it would be as soon as possible. So those elections, clearly the Spanish government hopes can somehow break this deadlock and reduce the tension in Catalonia.
Now, he did make clear that he's not suspending autonomy or self-government in Catalonia. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I mean, I think that's something which is open to interpretation very much. I mean, they seem like quite strident measures, and I think I'd imagine that the Catalan government won't see it that way. If it's being removed essentially from office and is no longer allowed to govern, if the Catalan parliament is seeing increased controls on it, as Mr. Rajoy also said, you'd have to see those as fairly strong measures, and you could argue that it's removing the self-government of Catalonia. The thing is, we're in uncharted territory here. This article's never been used in 4 decades of Spanish democracy. So this is all new. It's new to Prime Minister Rajoy as well. But it does seem like he's taking some pretty strong steps here.
All right, Guy Hedgecoe in Madrid, thank you very much for that. And no doubt we will continue to hear a lot more analysis and details of what's going to come out of the Spanish government's actions. But you can go to our website, bbc.com/news, to get the upshot of what Mariano Rajoy had to say. Much more coming up on BBC World News. See you soon.